This is a Fox 17 digital exclusive. I'm Meagan O'Halloran. This is Kelly Avellino. We are in our brand new podcast room, and we're taking the opportunity to really dig deeper in some of our investigative stories, giving you way more content, behind the scenes information that we just didn't have enough time to tell in a newscast. And Kelly, props to you. So here's what's been happening. In Tennessee, you've uncovered a big story here.
Hundreds.
And it started with one tip, a phone call. And this is getting arrested for DUI when you haven't had a drop of alcohol in your system. Props to you. You are such a fantastic journalist. You were able to pull up some of the dashcam video, the body camera footage that really paints a picture so that you, for yourself, can take a look and kind of use your own judgment as we go through this story. Let's go ahead and watch.
I've either worn them shooting poo or...
Although 76-year-old David Dutton is a tough competitor at a game of pool,
You gotta make sure you get it good and chalk.
he says his drink of choice is anything but hard.
When you go to the pool hall, what do you order?
Tea.
Do you drink alcohol
No.
at all?
You sounded
But
surprised
two
there.
Rutherford County Sheriff's
I
deputies
was. He's
didn't-
like, nope, don't drink at all.
Yeah.
And he had in previous years, but he stopped drinking years ago. So.
Which, is ironic. It's someone who doesn't drink at all that gets accused of
The
this.
three people that, all four of the people that I interviewed do not say they do not drink at all.
Wow.
So it's interesting.
It is interesting.
believe the Vietnam vet when he was driving home from his regular game.
You have anything to drink while you're there? I didn't hear
don't
what
drink.
you answered. You don't drink? Okay.
The deputies reported they pulled Dutton over for a taillight out and for allegedly crossing into the shoulder.
Okay, so that's legit. They would probably pull anyone over under those circumstances.
Right. They do contest that in the lawsuit. David Dutton's, he's now suing Rutherford County for $400,000 in federal court.
Does it look like his taillight's out in this? It's hard to tell.
I'm not a police officer. I'm not an expert. But I know the lawyer had some issue or an argument as to them pulling him over in the first place. Obviously, police in their reports say he did. So,
all right, let's keep watching.
That led to a field sobriety test.
Use his
Can you
blinker
get
to pull
your right in
over.
front of your left so you're touching heel to toe like mine is?
Well,
Awesome.
I ain't that balanced.
I got you.
I'm 75.
I got you.
Okay, so he tells the officer right away, I'm 75 years old and I don't have great balance.
right. And as I think if we play it more, he goes into how he had like a disc replaced at some point.
let's watch.
Yeah.
Just couldn't walk it straight or keep my balance.
A DUI arrest followed.
And a mugshot. So you're arrested, you've got a mugshot, and that lives on the internet. The internet
Right.
is savage. When
Yeah, and
something's
the
up
NASA
there.
engineer that this happened to, she was beside herself. I mean, she's a NASA engineer, and the local jurisdiction in Tennessee where they had this, there's some local website that just posts every mugshot that comes in, and there she was.
I know those sites.
So yeah.
Oh, okay. So here we go.
There's enough indicators based off everything that you have taken something that shouldn't be in your system.
I'm fine.
All right, hold on. So the deputy said, based off everything that you have taken something that you shouldn't, that shouldn't be in your system. There's enough indicators. And did they expand on that? What indicators?
So if you listen to the whole body cam video, and just a quick note about body camera video, I did a separate story on this. You should always ask for it if you're ever arrested. Ask for the body cam video and the dash cam video, whatever was in the car. Hopefully you won't be in that position, but if you are, majority, I would probably think police departments have body cam now. Ask for the body cam video, but they don't have to give it to you. Technically, it's part of an open investigation, and opens records laws in Tennessee are such that they don't have to turn that over. If it's pending. Ultimately,
What if a lawyer requests it as part of your defense at a case?
your lawyer's entitled to it when you get to the circuit court level in discovery. So if they really want to play hardball, they don't have to give it up until then.
But they know what's on the video, you don't.
Right. Now, most of the time, from what I hear from attorneys I've spoken to other people, they do give the video.
But it really depends on the agency and the jurisdiction.
Yes, largely. And it's different. Sometimes they just give it right to the person. Sometimes they want your lawyer they'll give it to a lawyer and not the person. Sometimes they tell the lawyer, look, you can view it the day of in court. Other times they're like, nope, you're not seeing anything. You have to wait for discovery. So it's a mixed bag. And there are folks that think that law should potentially be changed. But if you are in this situation, or like I said, any type of arrest, especially something like this that like depends on the field sobriety test that's on camera, you can request it. Now, when Mr. Dutton came to me, it was actually his son who contacted me, and his son was upset about it. And he said, this just happened to my dad. And I said, okay, well, what did the body cam video show? And they were like, what? And I was like, okay, we're going to send your dad down to get the video. And he did,
and
like the next day.
I mean, he's 75 years old. You don't know what to do in that situation. But this deputy's saying there's enough indicators based off everything that you have taken, something that shouldn't be in your system. He said, I'm fine. I haven't taken anything. My next question would be, what are these indicators that you're alluding to?
So he was,
because he didn't spell it out.
He was a little shaky on his field sobriety test.
According to the
deputy. He also, David Dutton gave, when they asked for his license, he gave them a debit card, and he admits to that instead of
and he might be nervous too. Like,
people
you're
are
accused
nervous.
of something.
He's older. I can tell you, such a kind, wonderful man. He didn't recall. I was asking, you know how we are. We're asking for all the details. So I was asking him like to recount every single thing that happened, and you know what I mean. And there was just he was just like, yeah, man. Like, they took me out of the car and they had me do a couple things. The next thing I know, I was arrested. Like,
I mean, I'll say this, like, we've all been pulled over before, I would think, for speeding for whatever reason. Like, my energy changes when I'm pulled over and a cop comes up to my window, like, oh no, I'm in trouble. Like,
yeah, it's a little
like
bit.
Your energy changes a little bit. Most people are a little nervous.
Some people get angry.
Sure.
He had a cigarette that he was smoking, and then, he tossed it out of the car as the police say he tossed it out of the car. So, he's just a different generation.
Yeah.
Maybe he was a little bit nervous. So he was, but
sure.
There is a point in the video where I don't know if I included it in the story where they asked him where he's coming from, and he had said, the pool hall up the road, whatever. And then you could hear the officer say to himself later in the video, I've never known anybody to play pool and not drink.
To another officer.
Officer.
Let's keep watching.
So,
Yeah. All right. So we're up to this point. There's a few back and forths between the deputy and Mr. Dutton.
Take anything.
Did you have a place to sit down in the cell?
No, on the floor.
Fox 17 News obtained data from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation showing more than 600 sober DUI arrests in the last 7 years. Dutton is one of those people, despite the deputy claiming his special qualifications to ID impairment.
I am a drug recognition expert for the state, so I kind of have more of a certification on why it's impairing you.
Wow. So that was telling too. A drug certification expert on why it's impairing you. They've already convicted him.
Right. The officer, and I guess he potentially certainly has a right. He should believe that, whomever he's arresting for DUI was under the influence. But he believed it was some sort of drug. That's what he, I believe, had said, some sort of substance in the video. And it just, that wasn't the case. He was just an older man.
Oh, and then we got Kelly Avellino on the case. This is where she gets to work. Watch this.
I also discovered that most law enforcement agencies in Middle Tennessee don't use breathalyzers on scene, saying blood draws are more accurate.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Tennesseans, Fox 17 News has interviewed previously, lost jobs, insurance, and their reputation while waiting for the test results to prove they were sober and for the case to be dismissed.
It's been an ongoing struggle. There's times when I'm alone, I'll cry.
It was the most stressful, most traumatic experience I've ever had.
For tonight,
All I've had is tea and a Dr. Pepper and chocolate.
And Dutton is prepared to
tea, Dr. Pepper, and chocolate. I mean, honestly, if I was Mr. Dutton in that cell, after being gaslit, I'd be like, did they maybe put something in my Dr. Pepper? Like, at this point, when everyone around you is convincing you that you're drunk when you're not?
That was tough for the family, or at least the son, to hear. His 75-year-old dad is in a cell with a lot of other people for 4 hours, couldn't sit down. Mr. Dutton, who I interviewed, said, well, really, it wasn't, he's like, that wasn't fun, but it was really embarrassing to have someone come and pick me up from this. So.
Did they ever apologize?
Not to my knowledge. And right now, Mr. Dutton is suing for $400,000. So I'm assuming there's no
He should probably be suing for more than that.
So, it's a tough situation.
I think he's got a good lawsuit on his hands, honestly.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Let's keep watching.
Yeah, okay.
tell that to a jury, now suing the 2 deputies and Rutherford County in federal court for $400,000. His lawsuit claims the deputies violated Dutton's Fourth Amendment rights, ignoring exculpatory information that explained his shaky field test. For example, this disabled driver card hanging from the rearview mirror, and Dutton telling the deputies he had back issues.
That's a huge tell. He had the handicap tag.
He had a handicap tag. I forgot about that. Actually, he had the tag. He told them he had a disc. When I watched his field sobriety test, it wasn't egregious. He looked like an older man doing a field sobriety test. And there's actually organizations and associations that have come out and said folks over the age of what have you should just not be subject to field sobriety tests at all.
He had no smell of alcohol in his breath. That's another indicator. So I'm just trying to figure out what indicators this deputy meant because he didn't explain himself.
I know
on the
a big
video.
one was, or one that they mentioned was that he had initially handed the debit card instead of that. Yeah. I think they said again that he was shaky. I don't know. They're very exact, and we have to remember folks are just average people, and officers. I could tell you that they kind of go through the steps a bit quickly when they give the instructions, and it's like very exact.
What jurisdiction this was?
This was Rutherford County.
Rutherford County.
Take 5 steps, heel to toe, or whatever it is, and then turn around this way, and then so it is a little bit like, oh, you got to think about what you're doing, even if you're sober. You're like, okay, and
the anxiety of being pulled over and accused of DUI when you haven't had a drop of alcohol.
That's why I think bringing back on the spot breathalyzers to at least give some indication there, and I spoke to, I interviewed an officer who said, now attorney, was an officer in 2 different states. And he said, there were times, and they had the on the spot portable ones, if you will. And he said there were times where, I pulled somebody over, gave them the portable breathalyzer, and they weren't drunk, but they had, something. They might have had a drink, and I didn't feel comfortable with them going home. Wasn't trying to, they went over the line a little bit maybe. You're not trying to put somebody generally through this. So he said a few times, I told them to just park their car into the parking lot, and I waited for them to get somebody to pick them up.
But that's tough too, because it's where do you draw that line? A lot of agencies have a 0 tolerance policy.
Right. So
that's a tough gray line too.
It's very difficult for the officer, and there's liability. If they let somebody go and there's a question, what if they are drunk and what if they kill somebody?
And there's a record that you pulled them over before that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to think about those things too.
It's really hard.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to this interaction.
You don't have anything that troubles you with your legs, back, anything like that normally?
Yeah, I've got a disc been dealing with for 45 years.
Oh, wow.
He seems calm.
Dutton repeatedly mentioning that he has balance problems.
Do you understand those instructions? Yeah. Do you have any questions about them?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I got that balance or not.
The lawsuit also says that one of the
balance.
deputies made assumptions.
I've never known a sober person to shoot much pool.
Court doc.
Okay, that comment could sink him.
That, that wasn't...
that shows confirmation bias right there. I've never known a sober person shoot much pool.
If this thing goes to trial, then I'm certain that
I'm surprised you got your hands on this video.
So, again, it's a matter of, and your average person is probably not arrested, and DUI, that was shocking for him, and they didn't know that they could access that. So I said, okay, I can technically request it, but it'd probably be easier and more straightforward for him to request it. I said, you're entitled to request the body cam video, the arrest report,
I'm sure you really advocated for him, yeah.
And he went and got all of that. And then when you watch it, you see all of that. And
this gives the arresting officer's mindset.
You could, on one hand, I totally agree with what you're saying. On the other, and I'm sure most would agree he shouldn't have said that out loud, at least. Obviously, officers are going to take into consideration where you're coming from. A pool hall they do serve alcohol there. I get taking into consideration that, fact of where he come from.
But did he give that much more weight than the field sobriety test, the handicap tag? I'm no officer, but I saw him walk the line. He wasn't stumbling.
Right. It wasn't in my opinion, wasn't a terrible field sobriety test. I've seen worse, of people who had sober DUIs. So it's tough. It really is one of those gray areas. And what can we do to give officers more training or tools to just give more indicators of what's actually going on here?
And it will be interesting to see how that interaction between the two officers plays out in this court case.
If it gets there, yeah.
Yeah, they could settle. All right.
Documents also blame Rutherford County for failing to train its deputies on how to appropriately handle individuals with disabilities or medical conditions that could affect sobriety tests. But the county's attorneys say there was justifiable probable cause here to make an arrest, including Dutton appearing disoriented with droopy eyes and slow in speech.
Oh.
That's
a judgment call.
If you watch the whole interview that I had with him, he just speaks slower. That's just how he speaks. That's just how I'm sure 30 years ago, he just speaks a little bit slower. I speak very quickly, and I have to make sure I slow it down.
I think it's the business that does this to us.
So, that's just who he is.
Right.
Stress just dealing with what the court's going to come up with each time I had to go up
he's
there.
got that southern slow draw.
Southern draw, who says his own friend was recently arrested for DUI while completely sober.
I think we need to go in more depth as far as tracking the results.
I asked TBI for data on sober DUI arrests and where they're happening, but TBI denied our request, saying they don't keep that specific kind of record. It wasn't until Representative Russell asked the agency for that information that they started to tally up all the stats.
Oh.
The former highway patrol
They
officer
see you coming, Kelly.
So, for a story, you're obviously asking for those stats, and TBI has a myriad of stats and data that it keeps, like extremely robust. But, they didn't keep that specific data, and I don't think they even had it available in a sense that you could just look through it yourself without looking through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, so it's...
But Representative Russell obtained it.
So, and I asked TBI, they said we don't keep that data. Then I asked, there's like a association of district attorneys in Tennessee. I asked them, didn't hear back, but they do keep stats in their newsletter on how often sober DUIs, or not sober DUIs, DUIs are dismissed. And so you don't know if it was a sober DUI, but somehow this person's getting charged with a DUI and it's just flat out dismissed. So that leads me to think there was potentially some of those that, they weren't drinking or had any drugs in their system. I mean, anybody that I know who has gotten a DUI, you're getting some type of charge or something to just have it dismissed. I mean, it's not like a traffic ticket where, they let you have a pass.
They can plead down or strike a deal.
Well, they had that. They had separately where it started off as DUI and then it was pleaded down, and then
like
they had
reckless driving.
Those that are actually like dismissed. So I had that stat in another one of my
cases. And they think, were they drinking and had a good lawyer, or were they legitimately sober?
So TBI, and this was a lot of emails I had over the course of the last year with TBI, and I probably get really annoying, but, they had said, our system or the data bank where we keep the DUIs is separate from the results. So it's like two separate banks of information that they couldn't necessarily correlate.
So it was just an impossible records request until Representative Russell got to the bottom of it?
Yeah, they said it was an impossible records request until Representative Russell asked them to compile that information.
And he's a retired state trooper.
He is. And he asked, it was a friend that he knew that this happened, and that he had a friend that this happened to. So that's what he asked TBI to give the results. And then that's ultimately how that data was compiled.
Wow.
Yeah.
This letter to TBI's director officially asking the agency to post test results for all DUI arrests.
We can work hard as we can to keep drunk drivers off the road, but we also can keep stats to make sure we don't have a problem with either the testing, the training.
Representative Russell also plans to work with the State Administrative Office of the Courts on its new $75 million database to make sure dismissed DUI cases are clearly posted.
I think this will make Tennessee a better place once we figure out how to track that data.
The issue of sober DUI arrests also reaching Governor Bill Lee.
So we've spent a great deal of time.
So you look at that, and that clearly looks...
So he was the minister, the first gentleman that I interviewed, and he had a really tough field sobriety test.
Yeah. I mean, I would say just looking at that, probable cause.
Right. Totally.
I mean, he can't walk in a straight line. He's fumbly. He's wobbly.
So, but the other side to that is in the minutes leading up to this, there's a lot of mitigating factors, if you will.
Let's watch. Is it in here?
No.
Okay.
So basically, he had gotten to a fender bender, and they waited 2 hours, he says, for police to get on scene. So this is them.
He called for help.
They both did, yeah. But
Okay.
They called for police to come to their fender bender accident. 2 hours later, police get there, and you see him walking around, in the dash cam video, this, that, and the third, pointing out certain things to the officers, and he was fine. It was when he was put in a specific walk the line.
Sure.
And again, he had a mixed bag of issues with his balance off. He has the eye condition that would cause your pupils to move in a way that they do when you're drinking. So it was like a mixed bag.
See, I'm kind of leaning more on the officer side watching this particular case.
It's understandable why they would ultimately bring him in. But at the same time, there's a lot of, when they got, one of the officers went there I see both sides to this one.
Sure.
Not that it matters what I think, but one of the officers
Kelly.
went to his car and they detected the smell of alcohol. And he was like, I literally just used hand sanitizer, and he
showed him.
Yeah. And clearly he didn't have alcohol on his breath, and they're having sort of closer interactions with him. He had no alcohol on his breath because he was not drinking.
But again, this could have been resolved in 24 hours with that blood test if it came back stat.
If I ever, or anyone I know ever got pulled over for a DUI and they were not drinking or having any alcohol, I would immediately, and the NASA engineer did this, she went into the hospital and got her own test at the same time. Like literally left the jail and then went there right away.
So then she essentially did 2 blood draws, one for the state and then on her own accord.
So she got hers, very quickly, just in case she needed to show her employer or whomever. But she just quickly got
That's
hers.
really smart.
Yeah.
A lot of pro tips coming out of today.
Yeah, what to do if you're in this situation.
Yeah. All right, let's see how this ends up.
In the last 3 years, expanding training for our police departments, our sheriff's departments, and our state police on appropriate policing methods that are nationally recognized as best practices.
Am I going to be locked up?
Practices that are coming under scrutiny.
Oh.
Yeah. The new law requires TBI to generate that list of how many sober DUIs and where they're happening every year, at least for the next 2 or 3 years. And then they can extend it further if they would like, the General Assembly. But for the next 2 or 3 years, we'll have a better idea of exactly where this is happening. And, I think, just any type of transparency lends to potential accountability.
Sure. It's interesting because before we got started, you told me about a story where you yourself have been pulled over. I guess, were you suspected of DUI, but you were the DD?
Right. So, well, your question was, how many people do they give a field sobriety test and then
essentially decide to let them go?
Right.
Like, all right, you're not quite at the threshold. I think you're fine.
Well, that happened to me. And I wasn't drinking at all. I was 21 years old, driving home from one of my friends who had turned, we were all turning 21 that year. So I was the designated driver. I had already turned 21.
So it looks a little sus.
So if he smelled alcohol coming from the car, he probably did. I mean, I think one of my friends was
their
sleeping.
probable cause was there.
And I told him, I said, my friend's, it's her 21st birthday, I'm driving. And
they didn't think you were just the least drunk. You were actually sober.
Yeah. And I said, I was telling him the whole story. We just came from here and now we're going to her aunt's house. We're down at the beach. I'm not familiar. I can't see the signs. So I was kind of like slowing down to see like what sign it was. So he asked me to recite the alphabet in between 2 letters. And I said, okay, well, I have to kind of sing the whole song. So I did that. And he claimed that I missed a letter. So then he said, okay, step out of the car. I said, oh my gosh, this is really happening.
Did your heart just drop?
And honestly, it didn't, because I knew I wasn't drinking.
But the fact that you're like kind of in trouble.
I don't know why I just wasn't. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, she's cool under pressure.
Yeah, I guess I've got cool. It's this business before even being in this business, I guess. So, so then he asked me to either walk a line or stand on one foot, and then he's like, okay, obviously you're fine. And I'm like, right. I'm like, I just need this street.
Just don't give this test to my friends in the back seat.
And he was like, okay, I'll just follow me. It's like 2 lanes up, and that's
so you got the police escort home.
Yeah,
I'm sure the aunt was like, what in the world?
Oh, it was funny, but yeah, so
yeah,
it's a good story. But yeah, I don't know if they, I don't know how often that happens. If you get to the point where you're being told to do a field sobriety test that you're okay, and then I'm sure it happens, but it's generally speaking, most of the time, I would assume if you're at the point where they're asking you for a field sobriety test, that's not a good sign,
right? So, kind of to wrap this up. All in all, we've learned so much. You've learned so much digging through all these cases. The takeaway here, if you ever find yourself in this situation, number one, obviously get a lawyer. Unfortunately, another expense that you have to pay for until it all gets ultimately resolved. Go get your own independent blood test to exonerate you.
If you can, that would be my first stop.
Request the body cam footage.
Yes.
Or get your lawyer to.
Right.
And then ultimately, a lot of these victims are suing, and who knows how that, have a lot of them settled?
There was another gentleman from Goodlettsville who sued and ultimately settled with Goodlettsville for several $1,000s. He just wanted it to be over. He's a middle school teacher, a coach, a veteran.
Can't even imagine what that does to your credibility.
Wanted it to be over, didn't go back and forth with them.
So people get fatigued and they just settle.
He was so fatigued and they settled and that was it.
Yeah.
So that helped him reimburse him for some of his Uber driving and some of his attorney's fees. So that helped really make him whole.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, that's it. I'm good. Moving on. So he was, such a great guy and he just wanted to be done with it. Mr. Dutton, who spent 4 hours in jail, the 75-year-old, he's suing for $400,000. And the last I looked at that case, the judge had set up a series of meetings between the attorneys where they're supposed to have any type of mediation or come to maybe a settlement before they actually get to trial. And they had multiple dates set for that. So I have to check in to see if anything was accomplished.
Right.
But this has happened in other states, Oh
yeah, I'm sure this happens all over the country. But really good stuff, and I can't wait to get into the next big story with you. It's a really good conversation.
Yeah, no, this one, I think part of the reason that this one caught a lot of attention is also because of the body camera video. And you and I have both been in journalism, technology, as we know, changes the world. And we were doing this before body cam video existed. Mm-hmm. And we were here when departments started to get it, started to use it, figure out how they were going to save it, the policies. And now we're at a place, 10, 15 years later where I would say a majority of departments probably have it. And it's just interesting to see, what this stuff looks like, what a field sobriety test look like, what's going through the mind of that person, what's going potentially through the mind of officers. You could see wwhere it can become a gray area. And
that's for the courts to decide, really.
Yeah.
Or they settle ahead of time.
It's tough. And I am personally, we shouldn't have opinions, but I do think, portable breathalyzers, I do think that any tool to help give more information about what's going on would be helpful.
In a timely manner.
Right. And, even if, that'll at least give you an information if they were, drinking or not.
Right.
Because the way they do tests with TBI is they'll test for alcohol first. If that comes back negative, then they test for drugs. So if you can at least rule out alcohol, then it'll be a faster process for the person on the other end. So there's just a lot to unpack.
But all in all, great job with this reporting because you've made a difference in our greater community. Clearly, this is a widespread systemic issue, changed hundreds of lives. And your reporting got noticed by those highest up at the Capitol, and we got some legislation changed because of you. So great job, Kelly.
Thank you.
If you want to see more of these stories or all of Kelly's reporting on the Sober DUIs, we've got links below. Dropped right here. All right, we'll see you next time.